called I Dream of Theresa May. The play is about a gay man who is immigrated from India to the UK and finds himself in a situation where it's illegal for him to go back to India because of the laws there, and so really wants to stay on in the UK but then has to go through the whole immigration process. As a result of that, he starts deciding that he needs to really figure out how to be British. And he gets a help from a vision, if you like, of the then Home Minister, Theresa May, and he tries to integrate into Britain as best as he can. That itself has consequences for how he changes. I've tried to make her an interesting character in the sense that she's helping him, but she has a very clear definition of what it means to be British. And it's of course a very conservative, old school kind of perspective. What I'm hoping this production brings is this whole idea of immigration and what it does to people who go through that process. But also to think of immigrants as having their own politics and their own lives. And we sometimes have a very narrow idea of who they are and what their beliefs are. But I think the play wants to explore and tease that apart a bit more to see the diversity of what immigrant voices are like. It's also about that intersection of, between being queer in general and an immigrant. It's also about talking about how we conceive of being British, and we all then have to face these choices of how we fit into what is perceived as mainstream culture. I'm hoping that audiences, especially those who are not so familiar with what these processes are like, will go home thinking about what it is like to come to this country and how it's actually not so easy, stress and the emotional toll it takes on people. But also, how do we want to define ourselves as a country? In what ways are we being complicit with that? The main character does have a lot of sarcastic, witty sense of humor. At a greater level, it's the satire of someone who's trying so desperately to fit into British culture that he goes overboard. And we recognize that. Perhaps we know some people like that. But equally, in the middle of that humor, you suddenly feel like, oh yeah, I'm laughing at that, but perhaps I've done something similar. So I want both of those feelings to be there. I think there's also that humor in seeing this portrayal of Theresa May. I really hope everyone and anyone comes. I think this affects all of us, people who care about the country. Just shout out to the fact that this play was developed with a writing program at our theatre called Nova, as well as a theatre in Newcastle called Live Theatre. So really, really grateful for all the support.